If you want some free low-carb, keto, and carnivore-friendly snacks, all you have to do is give this show a 5-star rating and review in whatever podcast app you listen in. So, just as a reminder, every month we have giveaways of some of my favorite products, and every month is a different and new way of winning. So this month, I am gifting Paleo Valley's grass-fed and free-range meat sticks. You're going to receive 1 pack of beef sticks, 1 pack of chicken sticks, 1 pack of turkey sticks, a pack of their venison sticks, so good, and a superfood golden milk powder. I don't know if you've tried any of these, but if you haven't, they are a must. Just give this podcast a 5-star rating and review, and every last episode of each month is where I will be announcing the winner. So don't miss those episodes because you may end up missing me announcing that you are the winner. Hey guys, welcome back to the Digest This podcast. I'm your host, Bethany Cameron, and today it's just me. We're doing it solo, and I got a lot of great positive feedback from the past solo episodes that I have done, so I'm going to try and continue to do that just here and there. And today I thought I would just share a little bit of what goes on behind the scenes regarding Instagram and having Instagram and social media be your main source of income as it is for me. I feel like a lot of people and influencers don't really talk about what truly goes on when the camera is off and what they're actually doing. And so I feel that I just want to be real with you guys and share it because maybe you've wondered and you're curious. Maybe this is a career path that you wanted to pursue yourself, or just to really appreciate what people do and the content creators, because it is not all rainbows and butterflies. So I thought I would just share the not so glamorous part of Instagram. So I hope you guys enjoy this because I think you will maybe be shocked at a few things. And so let's get right into it. Non-toxic air fryers are hard to find these days, but Our Place has them, and I personally use it regularly for not just air frying, but reheating leftovers instead of using a microwave and toasting sourdough. Our Place non-toxic Wonder Oven is more than just a Wonder Oven. It's a 6-in-1 air fryer with steam infusion. It does everything from ultra crispy air frying, baking, to serious roasting. It preheats 75% faster and cooks up to 30% faster than traditional ovens, so you can whip up dinner in no time. It can roast a 4.5-pound chicken or go multi-level to cook double the capacity of a standalone air fryer. Yet, it still is compact enough to not take up too much counter space. Plus, it's actually beautiful to look at. I have it in the color Spice, but they offer many other colors to fit any kitchen decor. Once you check out all of Our Place has to offer, you'll be obsessed just as much as I am. These are the perfect gifts for your family, friends, and of course, yourself. And if you want to save some money, you know I got you. Just go to FromOurPlace.com and enter code DIGEST at checkout to receive 10% off any of their non-toxic cook and bakeware. And Our Place offers a 100-day trial with free shipping and returns, so you really have nothing to lose. Again, that's FromOurPlace.com and use code DIGEST. I can't believe that we are now getting into fall, if not feeling like we are in fall already. And I love it, but it does come with some doom and shorter days, less sunlight. And I know we can all feel the depression and anxiety kind of kick in, some more than others. And if you're one that certainly notices a change in your mood when the cooler months come, I totally feel you. So, how do we combat this? Obviously, we want to be around people. I think diet and nutrition play a huge role, but I also think people overlook hydration. And studies have actually shown that when you are dehydrated, specifically when you don't have enough electrolytes, anxiety, depression, you might feel irritable, lightheaded, fatigued, having headaches, panic-like symptoms. These can all be signs of just low electrolytes. Also, flu season. As we get into the fall and winter months, a lot of people can get the flu and get ill. And then when we are sick, we do lose a lot of water and a lot of electrolytes. So I always recommend LMNT. I use the unflavored packs. I know a lot of people do prefer the flavored versions. Again, do what works for you. I like the unflavored, which is just 3 simple ingredients. There's no stevia, there's no natural flavors in their raw version. They do have other flavors. If you do need a little flavor or a little sweetness, they have that as well. And I'm always talking about it in my Instagram stories, but you can get a free sample pack. So if you haven't taken advantage of this offer, just go to drinkelement.com/digest to get this amazing offer. Again, that's drinklmnt.com/digest, and you can get a free 8 single-serve sample pack. Adding electrolytes is a great way to replenish and rebalance your entire body, mind, and mood. I hope you guys love them as much as I do. Okay, I'm going to share some things that most people will not share about Instagram. And if you've ever wondered about the behind the scenes of what it takes to have Instagram basically be your main source of income, this may interest you, and this may detour you about maybe you've been thinking you want to pursue this quote career. This is something that I never actually pursued. Instagram is definitely my main source of income, and God forbid if anything ever happened to it, or if for whatever reason Instagram started hiding my content, that would definitely affect my income. And I mean, things would definitely have to change. We may even have to move. It's that serious. And I think a lot of people don't realize the pressure of, wow, if my stuff doesn't perform well, this is actually affecting my income. And I think that's where the stress and anxiety truly does come in, at least for me. I'm obviously speaking from my own experience, but if things don't perform well, even if it's not for a specific company, if it's not sponsored, if it's not sponsored content, and it's just like me sharing a legit piece of content, recipe, or information, if it does not perform well, it definitely does concern me, because even if it's not connected to a brand, potential partnerships, brands, they look at your past posts and see, oh, it didn't perform well. I don't want to work with you. Or they look at it and say, oh, yeah, you do have good content. It does perform well. You do get a lot of likes or views. And I think we do want to, try and do some sort of partnership with you. So it really doesn't matter. In fact, it matters more regarding the content that I put out. If something is not sponsored, it matters a lot still, because brands look at all of your past stuff, and they look and see the engagement. And that's really the determination if they want to potentially work with you and do a partnership. And then that specific partnership, it is sponsored, and then that is a way of income. But regardless, sponsored or not, it's always in the back of my mind. And it is stressful when I'm like, dang, it didn't perform well. People aren't supporting it. And then I'm like, okay, how am I going to make the bills this month? Our brands are going to look at this and they're not going to want to continue partnerships, or whatever the case may be. So that is definitely a concern. And if you've ever thought about maybe having Instagram as your income, if you want to become a quote influencer, which I hate that word, that's something you have to consider. Now, I want to really quickly touch on the fact that so many people, I think there was a study done that the number one job that kids want to do when they grow up is be an influencer. And I think that is ridiculous. And here's why. Back when I was a kid, people would ask like, what do you want to be? And you'd be like, oh, I want to be a doctor. I want to be, I want to help others. Like I would say, I want to be a fashion designer. Like that's what I wanted to do. But like they actually put out like firefighter, I want to be a nurse or whatever. Now it is the number one thing, the number one desire is to be an influencer. Isn't that sad now that that's what kids want to do? And you really don't think of all of the time and the pressure really, because yeah, you are essentially your own boss. You get to make your own hours. You get to work from home. However, there's a caveat there because you work from home. Again, this is for me. I work 7 days a week. I can't remember the last time I had 2 days off in a row. If I did have a day off, it was probably because I was sick and I had to take it off to rest. It wasn't like, oh, let's go, let me take this day off and have fun. It was because I was like, I was sick. I probably was overworked. That's why. I can't remember the last time I did not work past 5. I can't remember the last time I did not start work before 8. I literally get up and start work, and until bedtime, I'm working again. Obviously, I am taking breaks in between because, yeah, I have to run errands. I have to take care of my own stuff too, right? But it is a constant, I'm constantly working. I'm very thankful to have people in my life, including my husband, that understands the ins and outs of my job. But I have horrible carpal tunnel from being on my phone all the time. And you have to be on your phone all the time. If you're not on Instagram, if you're not engaging, then again, your interactive, your engagement goes down. So I have to actually engage and be on my phone for hours. I know it's affecting my eyes. I know it's affecting, obviously, my carpal tunnel, my hands. It's actually affecting my neck because, you're constantly looking down on your phone. I'm trying to make a habit of holding my phone up in front of my face instead of downward so that I can at least look straight ahead. But it looks like who holds their phone straight and looks straight ahead and just does that? Obviously your arms get tired, all of the things. So there's a lot of physical pain. I know you're probably laughing. You're like, yeah, right. I, pour cement for a living. Obviously, I don't want you to think I'm complaining. I love my job. Let me get that straight, first of all. I love it. I can't imagine myself doing anything else. But I am just sharing these things because I think everyone thinks that being a quote social media influencer is just fun and games, a piece of cake. You work for 2 hours a day and that's it. Now, I know, again, going back to the whole people wanting to do this for a living, I would not recommend it. I want to put that out there. If you ask me would I recommend this to anyone? Heck no. And you hear all the time about lawyers or people that used to do work for Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, or they were a doctor or had some kind of professional job who quit to be an influencer. And yeah, okay, maybe they did make it, but they never had to scrape or work for it. They already were living a pretty good life beforehand and just decided to change career paths because, maybe cooking was their passion and they wanted to quit being a doctor or a lawyer and do this and fulfill their dreams. Cool, that's great. That was not the case for me. I don't know how long you've been following me, but I did not choose Instagram. Instagram chose me, and it's just a stupid phrase, but it's true. I never pursued this. I was real quick here, Reader's Digest version for anyone that doesn't know. I was very sick where I actually could not hold a job. I had to quit my job, got really sick because of my digestive issues. So I had to quit my job. I was literally in the bathroom all day long. So obviously I could not work anywhere. And thankfully, I was renting from my parents at the time in a garage, and they gave me 4 months, and they're like, okay, well, you know what? don't pay rent for 4 months, try and figure this out, like your job situation, try and see if you can find a work from home job. And so that's what I did while I was sick and trying to heal. Because also, about 8 hours of my day was making my own food, doing my own, prepping my own stuff, trying to heal, take supplements. And that was a lot of work. I would make bone broth from scratch. I would get I don't think I'm giving you the Reader's Digest version, but this is, you know what? You knew what you were getting into. But I would make my own bone broth from scratch. And I would boil the chicken, do that whole thing. I would have to puree my chicken. I would make my own bread. I went so deep into, I would sprout my own almonds. I would get organic almonds, soak them overnight. The next morning, I would peel the skins off every single almond, okay? Rinse them off, and then make my own almond milk, puree and blend the almonds with pureed water, with purified water. Then through a nut milk bag, I would strain that and make milk. Like it was a whole thing. Like it was like an hour just to make this milk on top of like the sprouting and soaking. And it was intense. I did everything from scratch because I needed to heal my body. I did everything fresh. And so that was all that to say is that took time. That was hours every single day. So there's no way I could have held a job, right? And while I was healing. So I'm doing all this. I'm prepping my meals and I'm thinking, okay, how can I maybe incorporate this into some sort of like educational thing on Instagram? Like I had just joined Instagram. I want to say there was maybe 50,000 people on Instagram. Like now it's like billions, right? This was just when Instagram came out, maybe even less than 50,000. Like Facebook had not bought Instagram yet. This was just the startup of Instagram where a lot of people didn't even know what it was. That's where I was. I had just joined, thought, okay, like maybe, I maybe would go on Instagram like twice a week. And I was like, let me just see, like maybe I could document this and share things. Stories didn't even exist around this time. Like I was on Instagram before stories rolled out. Like it was the OG, and you could only post photos too. And it was in chronological order. If you posted at 9 a.m., it would show up at 9 a.m. If you posted at 5, it would be on your feed at 5. That's how it worked back then. So I thought, okay, well, I'll just post what I'm making for myself. And obviously I was making, like I said, like pureed chicken. No one would think that pureed chicken would be good, but I was like, let's just document my healing journey. And it caught on because definitely was not a normal recipe or normal things, but it did catch on because a lot of people were in the same boat as I was. I don't think that they were as severe as I was, but they were looking for digestive relief. And I realized that, people out there needed help. And I was no expert at the time. Like I was still trying to figure it out. But because I was at home, literally sick in bed, what else was I going to do? And also I would study. Like I'm not to like toot my own horn, but I probably have more research than most doctors here because I spent a good, I want to say 8 years. I was in this apartment for 8 years. I spent a good 8 years just researching and reading and watching and reading more and researching. And through the doctor that I was under, the holistic doctor, I got a lot of information from him, and he taught me so much for years. And so that's what I did with my time, because what else are you going to do, right? So I just engulfed myself with research and studies and really found out what happens with your food and what harms your body and all of the things. And obviously trial and error for myself, right? Constantly learning. And so it was a very interesting time. So all that to say, we fast forward, I'm like still trying to make money. working from home, I realized, hey, like maybe I can get some sponsors from some of the brands that I, like and love and things that I use. So reached out to them saying, hey, like maybe we could do some sort of collab. I still didn't have a lot of followers, but it was a lot easier to grow back then too, because not a lot of people were on Instagram. So I started to gain some momentum, some followers, and I really started to take this very seriously now. I was like, okay, I'm going to make this my job. I don't give up. I'm the kind of person, if I think I'm going to make something work, like if I'm determined, I'm going to make it. And I even told my parents, I said, look, after these 4 months of you giving me no charge for rent, trust me, I'm going to make this social media thing work, and just wait in 4 months. I remember specifically my dad was like, yeah, I know he was supportive. Like he didn't want to be like a Debbie Downer, but he was like, okay, well, let's see, like, how are you going to do this? Like social media wasn't even a real thing back then too. He's like, how do you even make this work? Like, I don't understand. Like, we'll see, whatever. And a year from then, I was making enough money to pay rent. I was making enough money to buy gifts for people for Christmas. Like I had extra money to go out to the movies, like to buy myself clothes. It wasn't just living month to month, paycheck to paycheck. Like I was like, wow, like I can do some extra things now. Like I'm not so strapped. Obviously I was paying rent, and it just started to grow from there. And again, going back to like, I didn't set out to be an influencer or do what I do and make recipes. I love making recipes, and I'm so grateful I get to do that for my job because it is a passion of mine. It always has been. But it was never like, oh, I'm going to quit my job and really pursue this. Little did I know that I'd be where I am today with my own supplement line developed from my own eating struggles and digestive issues and not being able to eat several things. So that's where that came about. Like all of these opportunities came out. I would have never had a book published. I don't know if you guys know, I have a book, and it got published in 2020 during COVID. That's another story for another day. But you can find my book, shameless plug, all Barnes & Nobles, online, Amazon. But I didn't know all of the ins and outs that I would be in, the struggles that today, literally in 2024, I would be dealing with. And when I say struggles, I mean the struggles of being your own boss, which first of all, I feel like you're not your own boss, because when you deal with brands, they are your boss essentially, because the brands determine if they want to work with you, if you really want to work, and if you want to work with this brand, you're going to bend over backwards. If they email you and you're like, hey, we need this redone, we need this quick turnaround, we need X, Y, and Z, you're really working for them. You're like trying to hustle, and you're trying to like, okay, please them, because guess what? If they're not happy with your performance, they're not going to work with you again. And that's something a lot of people have to realize, is that you want to be very easy to work with when you're working with brands, because they have an endless amount of people that they could choose from to work with. So you have to make a reason and an argument of why they should work with you, okay? So yes, it is about followers and engagement and how many people liked your stuff, but it's also about the ease of work. So you can't just like respond to them in 3 days in an email. You have to respond pretty timely, because you want to work with them again. You want to have this ongoing relationship. And I feel so blessed to be able to have worked with brands that I truly love and use for years on end, over and over again. They've been amazing. I have had some brands that I do not like working with, and I will not work with them again. I can tell you that in more detail later, but all that to say is you're essentially not your boss. You are, how do I say this? But yeah, you kind of have to be under the brand's rules, essentially. And hey, if you don't want to work with them, then that is your choice. But also, do you want to pay the bills? You have to kind of find that happy medium and just be like, no, I don't want to, I'm not going to do what you tell me to do. Well, if you say that to most brands, you're probably not going to work with them ever again. And you're probably not going to make a living out of what you do. So, that's that. And I think, people have to take that into consideration. Another thing about brands is that they can be very judgmental. And that's just how it goes. If you don't perform, then sometimes they'll ask you to redo it. They'll ask you to redo for a lot of stories. If it's a sponsored story, they want to see the story first. So you have to pre-record things, and then you have to send it to them for review. And then if they approve it, then they send it back to you, and they're like, okay, then post at this time on this day. And some brands can be so picky, which thankfully, again, I don't work with brands like this, but I have worked with brands and experienced this in the past where they're like, nope, redo it. You said snack, and we want you to say midday eats, or weird stuff like that, whether it's oh, the lighting is weird, redo it. Little nitpicky things. And I'm like, oh my gosh, it's really interesting. It's, yeah. And I get it too, as far as sending for approval, because I do still have to do that with brands. And the reason for that is basically, they want to make sure that if they are, they're paying you. So if I was a brand, I was paying someone, of course I would want to see it and make sure that my money was going towards something that I liked and approved. So I get that. Sometimes legal claims, you don't want to make medical claims. And so they want to make sure that their product is being represented in a right way. I get that, right? So there's all of that in and out and behind the scenes and back and forth that a lot of people don't see and realize as far as content creation. Also for Reels, you have to go and send it to approval for them and make sure that they like it for the most part. Again, I feel so blessed because I work with brands that aren't as nitpicky as this. And I'm so thankful. And I think it's also because I have worked with them for years. It's not oh, I've just started working with them. I have worked with brands how do I, obviously New Zest is one of them, right? But that's kind of my brand as well. Really don't have to get approval for them. But what's another brand that's really cool and chill? I've worked with Bonafide for so long now, and they just are we trust you. We are aligned on so many different levels. Just, whatever's authentic for you, which I love because a lot of the content I put out is truly authentic, if not all, really. And they're just we don't want you to say anything that you wouldn't, say normally. And I'm that's awesome. I can just share basically whatever I'm doing and how I'm using your product as I normally would. And that's how most of my content is. I just feel so blessed to work with amazing brands. Bonafide, Simple Mills is a great brand too. I'm just trying to think Sun Butter. I've worked with them for so long. They're just so sweet, the people behind the brand, and the products are great. And I'm just trying to think I have so many great, Artisana Organics, they're another great, amazing company. And a lot of them are small companies too. I also have found that the big companies owned by, I don't know, whatever, but the big brands, they are OCD when it comes to approval and content and things like that. So there's that. I have a genuine question for you. Who here listening loves to eat beef liver and heart? I can already guess not many. Sadly, beef organs are overlooked, and in today's American diet, 92% of Americans are nutrient deficient and nearly 50% are deficient in vitamin B12 specifically, which can lead to issues like anemia, vascular disease, stroke, autoimmune conditions, fatigue, and dementia. Vitamin B12 is the only vitamin that we cannot get from plants or sunlight. It is the only vitamin found in animal products, and the richest source of natural B12 on the planet is grass-fed beef liver. In fact, severe B12 deficiency used to be fatal until scientists figured out death could be prevented by feeding patients raw liver. Now, I'm personally not going to eat raw liver, and I'm sure you aren't either, but I am a huge fan of consuming meat organs. However, I know most have a difficult time with either the taste of them or simply digesting them. But organ meats are some of the most nutrient-dense foods in the world. I would hate for myself or anyone to go without them in their diet. That's why I personally opt for Equip Foods grass-fed beef organ capsules. It's a blend of grass-fed heart, kidney, and spleen that's dehydrated and put into a capsule form to easily be consumed with any meal or just a simple glass of water. Just 3 ingredients and absolutely no fillers, no flow agents, and no additional ingredients are added. Equip Foods also has liver capsules if you're particularly interested in upping your iron. Grass-fed organs are super rich in vitamin A, of course, vitamin B12, coenzyme Q10, heme iron, and selenium. These nutrients provide a multitude of benefits to immunity and vitality. If you're not sure about them, Equip Foods has a 30-day, 100% money-back guarantee. So if you aren't thrilled with your order, just let them know and they'll refund you without any questions asked. You really have nothing to lose and all the health to gain. Just go to equipfoods.com/digest and use code DIGEST to get 20% off. That's awesome, you guys. So you're going to try this for 20% off. And then if you don't like it, return it and get 100% of your money back. So you honestly have nothing to lose. Again, just go to equipfoods.com/digest and use code DIGEST. I am going to cut to the chase and tell you that Pique Tea's Radiant Skin Duo is on special right now. Just laying it out there because, as most of you know, I am a huge fan of Pique Life Tea's crystals and all of their matcha black teas and tropical powder teas. I drink them on the regular. So I feel like I'm just doing an injustice if I didn't tell you about this amazing sale right now. I seriously love all their tea crystals and the fact that they do not use any toxic tea bags, which can contaminate your tea and your drink in general just by having the chemicals that are in the bags leach into what you're consuming. I'm not sure if you guys know this, but a lot of tea bags, if not all, are just toxic. But Pique Life, all their products are tea bag free, and their products are certified organic. They are triple toxin screened for heavy metals, pesticides, and mold. And I don't know if you knew this either, but a lot of tea companies are now adding natural flavors to their teas. And we all know from my viral Instagram video showing how natural flavors aren't actually natural at all. They're actually made in a lab and are added to products to make you more addicted to that product you're consuming. Natural flavors, toxins, and chemicals are hijacking our taste buds and disrupting our endocrine system and gut health. So again, that's why I love Pique Tea, because they don't use any of that. And they do rigorous testing to make sure all their teas are free from toxins and mold. And if you're looking for a coffee alternative, Pique has a blend called Chaga Energy Elixir, which is 100% caffeine free, yet still gives you energy without the jitters and can even provide a calmness at the same time. But if you're looking for a deal, check out their website because they are always having specials. And so I really encourage you to go check out what's on sale right now, especially their Radiant Skin Duo. And if you're not sure if you're going to like any of their teas, they have a free return policy within 30 days. So if you try something and you're not happy with it, just send it back like what you didn't use and they'll just give you a refund. I mean, I just love that about this company, that they just want you to be happy and satisfied. So if you go to piquelife.com/digest, you can receive up to 15% off plus up to 2 free gifts. Again, that's piquelife.com/digest. piquelife.com/digest. Another, I would say, I love my job, but I'm just giving you like the not so glamorous parts of what I do and what we do as far as an influencer goes. You have to pay double taxes because one, you pay tax. We all pay taxes, right? Tax season, love it. But since you are your own company, you pay double taxes. You pay for your individual taxes, and then you also pay for your company taxes. So I pay double the taxes. So when tax season comes, literally all year long, I have a separate account that I just save for tax season. And it sucks because half my income is basically taxes. Like I just basically throw it away, throw it out. And people can look at me and be like, man, like, wow, you're doing really well, Bethany. Like, I'm like, yeah, but half of my money goes back to taxes because as your own business owner, you pay double taxes and it sucks. I feel like, I'm like, man, I don't know. I could go on about taxes, but that's something you have to take into consideration. Healthcare, that's another one because you are your own business and boss. We pay for our own healthcare, and it's almost $700 for me and my husband per month, just for like a monthly healthcare on top of the copays and all of that when you visit a doctor. And so your company, a lot of people have healthcare benefits with their job. We do not. We pay for our own healthcare, and it is dang expensive. Now, I don't really typically use it. However, just because, I do go for alternative methods, which I pay out of pocket because your healthcare sadly, it does not provide a coverage for alternative medicine practitioners. And so on top of my healthcare, I pay out of pocket for alternative medicine and like chiropractic and things like that. And well, you're probably like, well, then why are you just paying for healthcare if you don't use it? Well, God forbid, if I'm ever in a car accident and need to go to the hospital, like I want to have that, right? You always it's like car insurance, just in case. And so, and there's been times where I've needed x-rays and things like that. And so it's good to have healthcare. And so you pay for your own healthcare. So there's a lot of behind the scenes that people just don't think about or realize. We don't have, we have to save for our retirement. We don't have a 401k. We don't have you know what I mean? You have to think about your finances in that way too. Okay, well, if I want to retire, I better be putting that away. So I try and do that too. And I try and be smart with my money. So things of this nature, you have to really think about your future. You really have to pay for your own everything. And so when it kind of comes down to it, it's not all fun and games, and you have to be disciplined, and you can't just, live in the moment per se. Now, I feel like another downside, again, love my job, but another downside of this job is, man, followers can be so judgmental and often send you the meanest messages, which is fine, but people online are crude, especially I feel like this younger generation. I don't know what is happening, but people just love to hate. And I've gotten used to it over the years, but still man, why you gotta be so rude? Just unfollow or don't say anything. And I think people also just tend to judge based on what they see. They don't really take into consideration, maybe you're under stress. Maybe you're having some health issue right now. Maybe, a family member just died and you're going through a stressful situation. And yeah, you may not look super hot right now. You may look like you are quote, not healthy. I had a time I had two family members die within 2 weeks of each other. And I did not look healthy during this time. You could even see it in my skin, my hair, everything. And I was getting mean messages during that time. And I was just like, you have no idea that I literally had 2 family members die within 2 weeks of each other, unrelated, going to funerals, trying to plan these things out, like the stress of all that stuff. And just, you're not going to just share this online and on Instagram, especially during that time. It's the last thing you want to do. And like, people can just be so judgmental and just say really mean things without thinking about, well, maybe maybe there's other things happening in her life. So, I mean, it's just, you got to deal with that. And it sucks, but it's part of it. This job can also be very lonely because you do work from home, and it can be very isolating. I know you think, wow, social media, like you're super social and you're talking to all these people, but it is not the same. Like Zoom isn't the same. Even when I do these interviews on the podcast, it's great. I love the conversations, but it is via Zoom, and it just can be super isolating. And I think that is also my fault. Like I need to make an effort to go out and be around people. But with the workload that I have, it's almost stressful to go out because I'm like, I can't let this go on any longer. That's to another point. If I am sick, if you are sick, you can't ask like your coworker, hey, can you cover for me? As you would at like a normal job, be like, hey, I'm out sick. I need you to cover for me. Or, hey, I want to go on vacation. Can someone cover and fill in? No. If I'm sick, the work just piles up. No one is going to take on that responsibility. It just piles up even more. I can't just like take a break and come back to where I left off because I'll have triple the amount of work when I come back from being sick. Or take a vacation if I want to take a vacation. That's why it's honestly kind of stressful taking vacations because it's like, the work is just piling on more. It's not just going to like take a pause and I go back to it where I left off. There's no. And so it's just, you can't really call a coworker and ask them to fill in for you. So that's another little downside. And here's another point too. I feel like, I don't know, it can be fake. A lot of people online can be fake. And like when you meet people at events, most often than not, they are not who they portray themselves to be. I've experienced this several times when I go to events. When you come online and share a video or a reel that is truly authentic, I feel like Instagram often hides it because they want fake and glamorous, and they want like like just fake stuff, and Instagram like pushes it. And so it's like, I almost feel like I need to be like dress up and be on, have like the camera ready, whatever. And I do. I don't think I'm fake online, but there's like the whole camera ready versus like just chill and like don't want to talk to anyone. You know what I mean? But I feel like a lot of people are actually like over the top fake, which is sad because people watching think that this is them. And I've just met so many people that are fake at these like events. And it just kind of like makes me down a little bit. Now, on the plus side, I've met a lot of people that are actually truly genuine. They're really cool. And I've developed some great friendships through that. And so, yeah, there are really cool people online. I'm not saying everyone is. But I think, it's just sometimes you can just like, that's why I don't even like going to events anymore. Like I'll get invited and I do not feel left out at all when I see these events online because I'm like, yeah, I know it's like mostly just for the camera. It's mostly fake. They were probably there for 15 minutes and left. Like, because yeah, I've seen it. So that's why I just don't like going to events. Now I'm just going on a rant on events. But I feel like another thing that you have to juggle with this job is, I know I said this in the beginning, but like time, because you work from home. And for me, I deal with several companies all over the world, NewsDesk being one of them, but as well as others, that where the time difference is a little different. So you have to accommodate. And if you're having meetings at, 6 a.m. or sometimes, it's late at night. I've had a meeting at, I think it was like 9 p.m. one time. Like, you have to kind of adjust. And so you're all over the place. You're all over the place. And there's a lot of editing that has to happen. Like one 30-second Instagram reel literally can take all day to film, to edit, to clean up afterwards, to get these different angles. And people ask, like, what do you like to do in your spare time, like when you're not working? And honestly, I love cooking. And I know you're like, oh, well, that's a shocker. Like, okay, that's what you do. But I love cooking without a camera. And there's a huge difference. When I cook or when I bake something without filming it, it is so therapeutic. And I love it so much. I'm like, I don't have to like think about the lighting or the angle. Like, I can just enjoy chopping and mixing, and like, it is so therapeutic. And I envy everyone that gets to watch my videos and experience these recipes, and they don't have to film it themselves making them. And I love that you guys can do that. But I envy that. And I'm like, man, it's just so nice to make something for dinner and not have to film it. And so, yeah, it's just interesting, and you feel like, well, when you are filming, dang, sometimes I'm like, dang, I should like film this right now. But I am like, whatever, in a robe or my pajamas. I'm like, but I have to get ready, and it's just stuff like that. So I definitely plan out the times that I am going to film something. But yeah, now I feel like I'm just ranting, but I did have some points. And a lot of the points were definitely healthcare, definitely the double taxes, working from home, and just trying to find that balance. And so what a lot of you may see on Instagram, there's a lot of things that we do not share that goes on behind the scenes. And for those wanting and considering this as a quote career, I would definitely take all of these things into consideration. And, even if you're not considering it, definitely show some love to the people that you follow, whether that's myself, whether it's someone else. And you're like, man, I haven't really been liking their stuff. I haven't been, commenting. And I realized that a lot of work went into this video, and I should probably support them. Like, that's the least that you can do. If they're providing free content that is useful, maybe it's a recipe, maybe it's just useful information, go support them. It's free to you. It takes 2 seconds to like a video, not even 2 seconds, double tap, right? And it goes a long way. And I know that those creators will appreciate that. And I appreciate all your support here on the podcast. That's another way to support, is if you want to give this podcast a quick rating and review, I'd love it. And it really does help support the show. It's a free way for you to do so. And it takes literally 5 seconds. So any and all of your support is always grateful and appreciated. And again, the whole reason behind this whole podcast segment was to really share and bring to light things that I feel like a lot of people don't, and they're maybe afraid to share what really goes on behind the scenes. And I just want to be real with you and tell you like how it is. And this is really what goes on. So anyways, I hope it was insightful, and I hope you enjoyed it. And I hope you enjoyed my little rants there. But all that to say too, I do love my job. I can't imagine myself not doing this, but it definitely chose me. I did not choose it. Thanks for listening to this episode of Digest This. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a review in your podcast app to let us know. If you're ever wondering how you can support me and this podcast, sharing it with your friends and family is the best way. This is a Wellness Loud production produced by Drake Peterson and edited by Mike Fry. To check out more shows by my team, go to wellnessloud.com, and to email the show, message us at digestthispod@gmail.com. See you next time. The content of this show is for educational and informational purposes only. It is not a substitute for individual medical and mental health advice and does not constitute a provider-patient relationship. As always, talk to your doctor or health team first.